Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to what is pretty likely to be our weekly Bofuri discussion series. I am still surprised that the show is winning me over as much as it is. I really didn't expect much from the show. This and Hanako are my two surprises of the season, where I just wasn't expecting anything going into the first episode and ended up loving it. And I gotta say, episode 2, dare I say, even better. Before we get into things though, I do want to give a big thank you to those of you who shared last week's video over on Twitter. At Sirius9752, at Bubbalubber, and at Matthew3645. Thanks so much for sharing last week's video, you three, and if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Bofuri video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet, and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. Now then, let's go ahead and dig right into this week's episode. As I have been doing the last week or so, I've changed up the format a little bit. Instead of going through the episode like scene by scene, I'm just gonna kind of talk about some of the stuff that I really wanted to talk about in regards to this week's video. And I gotta say, there are, I was gonna say two, but it's more like three things that I really want to talk about this week. The first being the first big NWO event. Every time I say NWO, I think of the NWO from wrestling and not New World Online. I keep wanting to say New World Order. Anyway, besides the point, we have to talk about the first NWO event, which is, of course, a battle royale, because of course it is. The second thing I want to talk about this week is the Kaede and Risa dynamic, aka the Kaede and Risa relationship, because that is the most Yuri thing I have seen this season, except it's not, because Asteroid in Love is also a thing this season, which is also good. If you're not watching it, you should check it out. But the third thing that I want to talk about is, of course, Risa versus the Kraken! Okay, it's not really the Kraken, but like it might as well be! Let's go ahead and start with the NWO event, the first event in New World Order, and it is the first event that's basically pitting player versus player. Now, I'm sure that there were player versus player, like, battles happening during NWO's first, like, initial, however long it's been out, maybe like a week or so. I don't remember how long they've said, a couple days, at the least. And likely there have definitely been, like, player versus player has to have happened in that span. It couldn't just have been player versus environment. That seems weird to me. But it's the first time that we see Maple getting involved in these situations. Now, the thing with Maple is she is stupidly excited to get ready to go into this battle royale. And I'm thinking at first, oh, this is gonna be really tough since she hasn't really built up many attacks per se. She's mostly all defense. So if someone can break through that defense, she might be in some trouble. I was wrong to have that concern. Our girl is more than capable of handling herself. Once again, the show really demonstrates that even though Kaede hasn't had a lot of experience with MMOs or games in general, I take it, Kaede as Maple is actually able to contend not just with the monsters of the world of New World Online, but also the actual players themselves, as she's actually able to not just outthink, but use her skills in such a way where she's basically unstoppable. I should also point some other things out about the Battle Royale, namely the fact that we get to see the game's mascot character, who's this like adorable little dragon doll thing. He has like little colored in eyes, like somebody colored them in and like scribbled all around. It's adorable looking. Like the dragon thing is cute. I didn't write down the name. I feel bad about that. I'll do that next week if the dragon thing shows up again. But I love that thing. I already like it. And basically, the little dragon mascot explains the rules, which is just you're going to be dropped into a new map created specifically for this event, and it'll be player versus player. They don't say how many players there is, although we will get into how many players we know for sure that Maple took out. But we do know that there's a tremendous amount of them. They're all plopped into this this arena, essentially, and just told to fight it out. It's a battle royale. If you've played Fortnite or anything like that, you know exactly what you're in for. And that's basically what it is. It's like fantasy Fortnite. In fact, I'm pretty sure fantasy Fortnite is a game. I don't know what it's called because I don't really play Battle Royale. Battle Royales just bore me to tears. I'm not a big fan of Battle Royales. But if it's in Bofuri, suddenly I care. That said, the arena they play in is neat. It's sort of like a castle town, but like worn down. Maybe like something happened in this area and in the past, and like the castle itself is like desolate and kind of taken over by the greenery. I always like seeing that, like seeing buildings that have been taken over by nature. That's sort of where they are. Like we basically get the idea that maybe it's either a castle or a castle town that has been sort of retaken by nature, and that's the setting of the battle. I would love to know a little bit of the lore of New World Online, like just to see like what they set up in universe, like in the game's universe, like know a little bit about the NPCs, know a little bit about the world, stuff like that. I'd like to see the characters get more into that, because I do think that the idea that they built this like desolate arena for the characters to fight in, it's like, okay, well, what was this place like when it was like thriving, stuff like that. Like I just want some little stuff like that. I don't expect them to go like deep lore into a video game world that even the show itself explains is not real, it's just a game. But it'd be nice to learn a little bit about it, you know? Like I nerd out about stuff like that. I like deep cuts and lore and stuff like that. I'm a Tolkien fan, so occasionally I like to dig into ridiculous amounts of character backstory and lore just for the sake of it. That said, we don't get much of that in this week's episode, but that's okay, because this week's episode is focused mostly on action, which I actually kind of appreciate, since last week was mostly about the moe of it all, and it's still very moe in this week's episode. And it's not like the action is intense until the latter half, where it gets freaking crazy. But Maple's, I have to separate the two. Maple's adventures in the Battle Royale actually goes significantly better than I had initially thought. I thought she'd have a harder time, but really it's kind of easy. Most of the people who she stumbles across tend to be the people who are kind of underestimating her. People like the green-haired dude, Christmas Rose, I believe that he called himself. He was basically like the Zarbon of Bofuri's universe. Like he was the Zarbon of New World Online, just like, oh, hello, like, forgive me for blah, blah, blah. Like, just ridiculous. I loved him because he was great. But basically he charges at our girl Maple, and she just kind of grabs the shield and puts it in front of her, and he runs face first into this thing and then gets absorbed into the shield, which is interesting. And then that happens 3 more times, and we cut back to the starting town, or whatever you want to say. And we see all these people sitting around looking up at the screen, like observing the Battle Royale, either people who were already kicked out of the Battle Royale, like people who already lost, or just people who are simply there to spectate. And they're watching Maple just eat hits from people, like just tank, like a tank should, but to the point where she's not even taking damage. And they're staring at her, and I actually took a screenshot of like my favorite moment from the episode, and I feel like that describes the whole show. And it's just one of the dudes looking up at the screen and sheer disbelief, and the person beside them saying like, I think she's not even taking damage, like I think the shield is just absorbing these people and just not letting her take any damage. And there's a pause, and the one dude just says like, isn't that broken? And like, yeah, yes it is. That's the show. Isn't that broken? Like that, I feel to me like that's like, to me that feels like the show itself making fun of itself. I don't know if that's from the original series. I don't know if that's the original creator Yumikon making fun of the premise itself, or if that's who's ever in charge of series composition, just poking fun, writing in that little line just to make the audience aware that like they know that the shield is a little bit busted. Either way, it was a fun little moment, and basically leads into Maple essentially sweeping 100 players. And that's where I'm shooketh, because okay, so they say that she was able to outplay 100 players. I don't know necessarily if that means that she straight up killed off 100 players in the midst of the Battle Royale, or if she just outlasted 100 players, like if 100 players have all lost the Battle Royale in the span of time that she's been fighting. And it's not even like Maple's really fighting, like she's just kind of drawing on top of the building that she's spawned at, and is just waiting for people to come find her and try to take her out. And she doesn't win, but she does come in third. She's third, and these 2 other folk come in first and second. And they're definitely people who we've seen in the OP. At least like the ninja dude looked really familiar. I don't remember who was in first, but he also looked like he was from the OP. So we know that they will become characters. And that's the other thing that I really liked about the whole Battle Royale thing, is that we see all these characters who we have definitely seen in the OP, and some we even saw back in episode 1. And I like the fact that the show keeps hinting like, no, there's a bigger world out there beyond just Maple and eventually Sally, who is Risa's character. Like, they have to stress, like, we're starting with these two because they're our main characters, but then we're going to kind of branch outward and see the rest of New World Online. Like, it's a much bigger world, and when you're playing an MMO, you're going to encounter a lot of people. Some people are going to grief you, some people are going to want to party up with you, and it's up to you to find those people, and especially when you're playing an MMO, it's a huge group of people. So I like the idea that they keep sort of bumping into the same folk over and over again, because, you know, as you do. Not that you would constantly bump into the same people. I suppose it is a little unrealistic given like how many people play MMOs. But I even when I've played MMOs, I do kind of tend to run into the same folk every so often. I like it. It's fun. It makes the world itself feel more alive, since we know that there's characters here. These player characters are actually going to have some kind of impact on Maple's story at some point, since they keep showing the same character designs and kind of and it makes you flash back to the OP, so you know there's going to be a significant amount of characters in the story. So it's just nice that they don't just like introduce them last second. Like they're shown in the show already playing the game. I don't know. It's just really cool. I really enjoyed the Battle Royale part of the episode. I'm not a big Battle Royale fan, so the fact that it did manage to win me over is fun, but that's because like the first half of the episode is focused almost entirely on comedy. It's done really well. I'm definitely going to give them that. I'm not a big comedy guy. You guys probably know that. I've said that before in other videos, but what I really like is when comedy is able to be blended with a proper story, and I'm just kind of invested. I'm kind of invested in Kaede / Maple's journey from zero to hero, from slow as hell newbie to tank of all tanks. As for the other things that I want to talk about in this week's episode, there's technically two, but they sort of feed into each other. And like I said at the top of the video, it's the Kaede and Risa relationship, as well as Risa / Sally versus the Kraken, but not really the Kraken, but basically the Kraken. And yes, I did say relationship because, like, listen, your boy loves to ship things. I am a very shippy dude. I should put that on a mug. Very shippy dude, very shippy dudette. I don't know. Mug ideas, yay. Anyway, I am just a very shippy person. I'm a very shippy dude. And when I see two characters who could be friends, but could also possibly be a little bit more, I can't help myself. I ship it to the moon and back, especially Kaede and Risa. I just think that this dynamic is adorable. Like, and I mean adorable. Keep in mind that Kaede started playing New World Online just to hang out with Risa. Like Risa, she just wants to hang out with Risa and be friends with her. And she even says, like, how could I say no to her? Like, shit like that. Like, how could I say no to her when she gives me the eyes? And it's like, oh my God, that's first of all, adorable. Second of all, I like the fact that Risa also is trying to make a character who could blend well with Maple, like trying to make a character who can blend well with Kaede's character so that the two of them can constantly play together as a party. Like, I love that. And the fact that Risa is actually showing that while she is lagging behind Kaede a little bit, she's still bringing her know-how of previous MMOs into this one. So she's actually, even though she's fallen behind in terms of levels, she is arguably still more skilled than Maple is. Like, Sally as a character might actually, I don't want to say be stronger, but is more adept to the world than Maple is, if you know what I'm trying. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say there. It's just interesting, and I like the fact that Risa actually thinks cleverly about how to build a character around Maple. Like, when she's trying to build Sally in her head, she actually does think to make a mage character, which is what I would have thought to make, and I think what a lot of people would have thought. But what I like is that Risa's aware that a lot of people would think about that. So she actually goes out of her way to make a swashbuckler instead. So instead of casting magic, she's going to be using a short sword. And I love the fact that she chooses swashbuckler and ends up getting all of her equipment under the sea. Even the fact that her outfit is blue, I adore that. I love the idea that she's a swashbuckler who got her outfit from under the sea. And it's just, it's because it makes her feel like the pirate type, and she even kind of has that pirate type of personality, so I think it works really well. The introduction of Risa's character, Sally, and just the fact that Risa actually gets to play NWO now is just fantastic. Like, I like the idea that the duo didn't have to wait like 3 episodes just to get Risa into the game. Like, we don't spend too much time like trying to build up like, oh, when's Risa coming? When's Risa coming? She's not in a coma for an entire season. Looking at you, Kirito. Like, she just jumps into the game, and I really dig that. And she makes an immediate impression. And like one of the things that I did see a lot of folk complain about is the fact that it's going to take her forever to get from point A to point B in talking about Maple. And immediately with the introduction of Sally, that's fixed because we get the piggyback of swiftness and the piggyback of Yuri. And yeah, the piggyback scene is friggin' adorable and just goes to further cement the fact that I really think this is a ship. I said it earlier, but if you're already liking Asteroid in Love, which is like the science Yuri show of the season, then I highly recommend Bofuri because it's the MMO Yuri show of the season. It's not a confirmed ship like it is in Asteroid in Love. Asteroid in Love, they pretty much heavily imply like, yeah, this is a thing. Bofuri is more subtext, but I still highly recommend it. The ship is strong with this one. And we even get to see them have this whole like cave montage where the two of them are like fishing together to try to get Maple some new armor. It's just fun. It's just a fun little scene. I do think that there's probably some skipped content in this scene, which does make me think that maybe we should get my boy Annie News to make a skipped content video on Bofuri, because I would like to know if anything important was skipped there. It doesn't seem like it. It was just a fun little montage of the two exploring the caves with Sally trying to level up her swimming and diving skills. Meanwhile, Maple's just kind of fishing for her for scales for her armor, which is still fun, but it's a nice little montage. Again, I would be curious if we skipped anything important from the original, from the source material. I don't think so, but you never know. And this leads into the final thing that I wanted to talk about in regards to this week's episode, and I will keep it brief, but it is easily the best part of the episode. And that is Sally versus the Kraken. Again, it's not really the Kraken, but it might as well be the friggin' Kraken. It's just cool. The atmosphere in this scene is really intense, with Sally swimming down to the doors, and like the underwater doors slowly open, and then she's able to kind of see like the surface of the water, so she swims up and catches her breath very quickly. And that's important because it shows that she was able to get a breath. So like when the timer runs out for 20 minutes, since Maple says that she timed 20 minutes so that Sally wouldn't have to worry about running out of breath. But we have to note that she did go up for air, which means that the 20-minute timer would have been a little bit off. So it still works out well. And the atmosphere, like I said, in that scene is fantastic because they really build up the whole, like, this is a proper boss fight. Like, it's just that whole mood of the scene is great. And when you see, like, just like when Sally's on the surface of the water and she looks down and sees the shadow swim underneath, like, ugh. I have a big phobia of like being under the water and having something like swim up towards me. Like, that's a big fear of mine, is being in the open water. Like, no. So like when I saw that, I was like, ugh, like creepy, don't like it. And then when you see the monster itself, I'm like, it's a giant friggin', I don't even know what it was. It looked like a big catfish, but like an evil catfish from hell. Like, I don't know, it just not even a catfish, just an evil fish looking something from hell. Like, it was just freaky looking. I loved it. Like, it wasn't scary necessarily, it was just big and intimidating, and I really thought it was cool. And this is the thing too, I gotta tip my hat, I gotta give my kudos to Silverlink and the chief animation director Kazuya Hirata, because them and like their team, like whichever animators worked on this, did a fantastic job. I think a lot of like the 2D parts of this fight are fantastic. And note that I did say the 2D parts of the fight, because yes, there is some CG in here, and it's a little janky, but honestly, for the most part, it's not. There's like 2 scenes where it's noticeably CG. But overall, this fight is fantastic. Like, seeing Sally go in and actually have a difficult time with the boss is interesting, right? Because when we saw Maple fight a boss, it was played up for laughs. This was not played up for laughs. Like, this was a flat out, like, drag out brawl. This was a fight for survival, damn it. And Sally's giving it her all, like, really, really trying. And she even points out, like, once she swims back up to the top, she says, like, I really wasn't expecting to have to give 110 back there, to really have to do my best. And now I'm just wiped out. And she manages to crawl her way over to the treasure chest and open it up and get her sick new outfit, the blue outfit. I really dig it. And I like the fact that it's blue, since blue is usually like a kind of like, it's like a cooperative color, like it's a friendly, calm color. And that's sort of like, blue usually denotes like a second in command type thing, and that really does fit with Sally's character, since she's meant to sort of serve as, not serve like as in like Milady, but to help out with Maple, like actually serve as her like right hand, essentially. Again, not that she's serving, but I mean like to help her, like they're meant to party together, so it works out. And yeah, like I said, the animation in the fight with the underwater serpent, whatever you want to say, I'm just gonna say the Kraken, okay, just because it's release the Kraken, that sounds cool. And yeah, Sally's fight with the sea beast was fantastic. I was shocked how good it was, like seriously impressed with the action in this week's episode. I wasn't expecting it, but it was so welcome. And I would love to see more scenes like this. Like the action scene between Sally and the Kraken was fantastic. Total surprise, but totally welcome. Please, Bofuri, bring me more of this. And if the OP is anything to judge off of, I do think we'll get more action-y scenes, and I do think we'll get a hint of a story. I don't think we're gonna get anything like groundbreaking, but I do think we're gonna get some emotions, some intense scenes. Maybe not intense, but some drama here. I think it's gonna be a light sort of MMO like type of show. I don't think it's going to seep too much into like the reality or anything like that, but I do think they're going to be fighting to protect their party as the party grows and stuff like that. And I'm excited to see it. And above all else, I am excited to see the furthering adventures of Kaede and Risa, who are most definitely an OTP. Fight me, you know it's true. With that said, everybody, I'm gonna go ahead and give this second episode an A. It is actually a marked improvement, in my opinion, over the premiere, which I already thought was pretty good. This was pretty great, so I'm happy to give it that solid A tier. And that's gonna do it for today's video, everybody, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and before we go, as always, I have to give a big thank you to the good folks over on Patreon, especially those in the Earl Grey tier: Andrew W., Calvin A., Crowbar of Irony, Daniel G., Digger the Fox, Dominic G., Ionos, Urza, Ginkutaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Marshall B., Mirth Mouser, Cell, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Somastan, Stephen G., Sakochi, Tristan G., and Verdon. A huge thank you to all of you in the T Squadron for your continued support, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then be sure to check out the first link in the description to check out our Patreon page, see all the cool rewards you can get over there, as well as access to our Patreon exclusive Discord for as little as $1 a month. And with that said, we're gonna wrap up today's video, everybody, so thank you all once again for watching, and if you are feeling stressed out today, then you go have yourself a warm cup of tea, and I will talk to you all again real soon.